Welcome to the Power Foods Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Kristy Jo, a certified fitness nutrition specialist, personal trainer, and weight loss specialist. I created the Power Foods Lifestyle back in 2012 as I transitioned from binge eater to fitness competitor, and I needed to systematize and strategize my nutrition and mindset approach to reach my goals. Nothing else out there was working for me until the PFL illuminated in my mind. My hope is that you too can become a strategist of your own health using the principles and strategies I share. Head over to powerfoodslifestyle.com to learn more. Today in episode 248, we are talking about low carb, why you should consider doing it for 6 weeks. I am so delighted to announce the book, the 6-week program, the recipe book that I have been ferociously working on in 2020 is finally done. Okay, what I want to do today is to read to you the very first chapter from the book on low carb. The actual title of the book is Low Carb for the Busy, Tired, Aching, and Overwhelmed, an easy-to-digest low-carb guide to reduce pain, inflammation, and weight, by yours truly, Kristy Jo Wengert. Let's dive right in. Why low carb? In a world of conflicting opinions about food, where zealots defend the method of eating that works for them, and where digital media allows ads of all kinds to be placed in front of you after you look up a new recipe, it can be difficult at best to find a diet or nutritional practice that works for you. I began coaching nutrition clients in 2013 and have watched in bewilderment as trends come and go in waves. Trainers, nutritionists, and doctors vacillate in their methods of teaching the general population what they should do with their food. I have spent a great deal of time in my profession dedicating myself to reviewing academic literature, new studies, podcasts, and books of other professionals to keep myself attuned with these trends. I have been fortunate enough to have constant clientele to work with and to have an open mind in working with each of these individuals. When working one-on-one with individuals, it is clear that nuance is present. No two people have the same set of circumstances, needs, or even preferences. Adapting to those needs is one of the greatest markers for success. As the plan fits the individual is most likely to make the changes in their behavior to render improvements to their health, their management of pain, and even their body composition. My nutrition methodology, the Power Foods Lifestyle, or PFL, is in itself non-definitive. Instead, it is a structure of principles that can be applied in any combination to help individuals find the best nutritional approach for them. As I have taught and grown in my own anecdotal knowledge as a trainer and coach, as well as observed my colleagues and their own nutrition discoveries, my belief system in the Power Foods Lifestyle has grown and expanded as well. Additional principles, or the loosening of principles, is fluid, and because I have seen so much change, I seek to hold no ego in a dictator-like approach toward food. The fact is, if it works for you, then it works for you. Food must not hold morals in our mind. Rather, it is to be leveraged for the purpose of nourishing our bodies to be the best they can be for our present conditions. Currently, the Institute of Medicine proposes that Americans should obtain 45 to 65% of their calories from carbohydrates. As you listen to this chapter, I'd like you to ponder why this recommendation may not be ideal for everyone, especially you. I would also like you to ponder where extra carbohydrates may have been sneaking into your diet without you even being aware of it. Let me now introduce you to why the low-carb strategy within the Power Foods Lifestyle is a fundamentally incredible method of eating for so many individuals. To do this, I'd first like to share why low carb is important to me on a personal level. At the age of 15, as a member of my high school drill team, I was doing a dance jump on the basketball floor where we practiced. I was drilling technique with 19 other girls on the team, and our coach was counting for us to complete the jump. Prep on 8, jump on 1. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8, jump on 1. Our coach wanted the synchronization to be seamless as we were dancing as one united team, especially in practice. After landing one of these jumps, I could not prepare for the next repetition. I felt paralyzed. My coach noticed I was unable to complete the jump with the rest of the group and yelled across the gym, "What's going on, Kristy?" Completely in shock at the sizable zing I had just felt all throughout my back, I couldn't respond, just started to cry. I couldn't move at all. Some of my teammates walked over to help me off the floor. My mom was called and she drove me immediately to a chiropractic office who happened to be a friend of the family. It was there I received the first x-ray of my back. As I viewed the S-shaped curvature of my spine in black and white, I was told, "You have scoliosis." What? That's my back? I was floored. How did I not know my back was like that? I had always had a very flexible back in my dancing, doing movements that many of my teammates were very jealous of. And now, here was the explanation. From that time forward, I began receiving electrical muscle stimulation, EMS, in hopes of helping my spine begin to correct. Thought was that the concave parts of my spine had the strongest muscles, so needed to be weakened, and the elongated muscles on the convex portions of the curves needed to be strengthened to help push the spine back into straight alignment. In addition to this therapy, I also received spinal adjustments twice a week. This was all thanks to the generosity of this family friend, as my parents were not in a position to afford any more care for my back than this. At the age of 22, I strongly considered having a rod put in my back to straighten my spine. But after doing a lot of research and talking to several individuals who had received the surgery, I opted out of the surgery. By the time I graduated from college in 2011, I was in so much pain from dancing 4 to 6 hours each day that I was visiting an acupuncturist twice a week in addition to chiropractic and massage therapy. My dream was to become an artistic director of dance at a university, and with a great deal of work and an intense audition, I was accepted to the University of Utah's Masters of Fine Arts program with an emphasis in modern dance. I'll never forget looking at that letter of acceptance and feeling pride surge within my heart. My undergraduate degree was in English, yet I had been accepted to this program. That hardly ever happened, I was told by Dr. Lee Lay, the artistic director of my university. And yet, in spite of achieving my goal, the next step to procuring the degree that would land me in my dream job, I knew I couldn't do it with the amount of pain I was in. How could I commit to another 3 years of dancing 4+ hours each day? I would never make it. So I turned down the acceptance on the basis of fear of the unknown and what the time would do to my spine. Indulge me to digress for just a moment. Writing this now, over a decade later, I still feel a surge of regret. At the time, I couldn't predict how my spine would handle the passing of time. But now at age 33, I have the luxury of hindsight and an assurance of the condition of my spine. I now see that if I had gone forward with the program, I would have been able to complete the degree. With pain? Absolutely. But I would have been able to complete it. Life is multidimensional. We make choices and we live with the consequences, both good and bad, with confidence. That is ownership, and something we will talk about more in future chapters. I'm taking ownership of this decision and believing it was the best choice I could have made, because without it, I would not be here writing this book for you. The last decade of my life would have looked very different. I'm grateful for all I have learned, experienced, and accomplished in that time through learning to set fierce goals, work through obstacles, and not allow fear and doubt to hold me down for too long. I'm grateful for the life I have, and I'm grateful that dance has continued to remain in my life, from teaching and coaching to judging and choreographing. The current goals I have for my spine are, number 1, to keep arthritis out by receiving regular chiropractic adjustments. Number 2, to keep inflammation and consequently pain down through eating a low-carb PFL diet. Number 3, to keep moving and doing things I love to the best of my ability without flaring up in pain. I believe that with these 3 points of action, I will live the best, fullest, and most productive life I can, in spite of living with chronic pain. Pain is my companion 24/7. One of the most important ways I can minimize the flare-ups, achiness, and intensity of that pain is by reducing the carbohydrates in my diet. Other benefits that are helpful to note along the way include maintaining normal cholesterol and blood sugar levels and having a leaner frame and body fat percentage. The latter additionally helps with pain as I'm not carrying around as much weight on my asymmetrical bone structure. What constitutes low carb? Before I discuss the benefits of eating low carb on a physiological level, I would first like to explain what constitutes a low carb intake. The world has varying ideas of what low carb actually is, for good reason. Low to one person may be high for another. It all depends on what a person's used to eating. A good portion of the nutrition world teaches that the way to define low carb is through percentages of total macronutrient food intake between protein, carbohydrates, and fats. For example, very low carbohydrate would be fewer than 10% carbs. Low carbohydrate would be fewer than 26% carbs. Moderate carbohydrate would be between 26 and 44% carbs, and high carbohydrate would be classified as 45% carbs or greater. But here is what drives me bonkers. The total caloric intake determines if these carb loads are actually hitting the desired target to reduce inflammation and pain. The target will be different for each person due to bioindividuality. Focusing on a percentage of our calories coming from carbs as our goal could ultimately lead us to think we are doing better than we are. I don't recommend that you track percentages alone, due to the fact that their total number of carbs per day may actually exit low carb territory if your calories get high enough. That is why I teach a grams per day formula over percentages. Let me explain this in more detail. Power Foods Lifestyle Carb Thresholds are defined by different ranges of daily carbohydrate intake. This allows the person to focus on total carbohydrates consumed rather than on a titrating variable dependent on caloric intake. So, Very low carbohydrate would be less than 35 grams of carbs per day. Low carbohydrate would be 36 to 100 grams of carbs per day. Moderate carbohydrate would be between 101 and 170 grams of carbs per day, and high carbohydrate would be over 171 grams of carbs per day. Now in the book, I include a table where you can see the breakdown of daily total carbohydrates and how it changes based on total caloric intake. Due to you listening to this, I'm going to skip this portion, but it is a very visual teacher that includes some takeaways, like when you're eating fewer than 1,500 calories, if you were to only go off percentages, and you're trying to do something like keto, that might not actually be low enough to be constituting a very low carb diet. There's a few other cool takeaways, but I'm going to leave that for you to read once you get the book. While tracking meticulously, it takes effort, strategy, and awareness to meet the criteria to actually qualify for a low carb or very low carb method of eating. Most people who just wing it won't actually push their carbs that low. That's one reason I recommend to my clients the tracking of their food in an app like MyFitnessPal, Calorie Count, or another app of their choice. This allows them to see their total daily grams in each of the 3 macronutrient groups, protein, carbs, and fats, rather than focusing only on percentages. Let me just insert this. I can't tell you how many clients, like when they're first getting started and I ask them to screenshot their macros, they screenshot their percentages and send them over. And I'm like, not good enough. That doesn't help me at all. I need to see total grams of protein, carbs, and fats per day. That is tracking your macros. If you're tracking percentages only, you are not tracking macros, okay? Hopefully I've made that pretty clear. With that said, while tracking meticulously in this manner is not ideal for a sustainable lifestyle, it is absolutely crucial for aiming your intention and training yourself as to what a complete day looks and feels like. Once you get this automaticity down, abandon your tracker and keep rolling with the principles and awareness you have gained. After some time passes, you might employ another dial-in session of tracking to retrain your habits using numerical data. Now, I would also like to acknowledge that for some populations, tracking can be problematic as it triggers an obsessiveness and compulsive behavior that leads to fear around foods. I was a part of this population from 2012 to 2015, following years of disordered eating and thinking. It took several years for me to retrain my mind and emotions around foods. While it took patience and really learning about food by using the numbers, a breakthrough happened for me where food lost its morals of good or bad, and instead I began to look at food as simply chemicals that would work differently in the engine of my body. If you identify with being obsessed with foods and worry about tracking for any amount of time, I urge you not to track, initially at least. While tracking meticulously for as little as 1 week can help train yourself on portions and total macronutrient numbers, it might not be worth it if this process triggers an infatuation or obsession that feels beyond the natural focus required for learning something new. If this totally resonates with you, I'd like you instead to only focus on the PVF combination, which is a food from each of the categories protein plus veggie plus fat that I explain later on in this book, or if you have read the Power Foods Lifestyle Edition 2, then you should already know about this. They are enough to lead you into a wonderful low-carb eating style. Considering a coaching session or 2 with me can also help you work around any fears or tendencies that may be holding you back. We are meant as human beings to be in community one with another. I enjoy listening to my clients' unique circumstances, helping them feel heard, and sharing insights, perspectives, and strategies that may help in their individual circumstances. Let me throw in this really quickly. I'm not sure if this option will be available to you in the future when you are listening to this. I am starting to phase out of coaching. Go ahead and still check if you are interested at powerfoodslifestyle.com, or feel free to email me at powerfoodslifestyle@gmail.com. I'm going to go ahead and end this episode right there. We'll do a part 2 in our next episode where I can finish talking about inflammation, the science of weight loss, and then help you feel like you're ready to get started. So I hope you have enjoyed hearing part 1 of chapter 1 of my newest book, Low Carb for the Busy, Tired, Aching, and Overwhelmed, an easy to digest low carb guide to reduce pain, inflammation, and weight by Kristy Jo. Thank you for being here with me. Again, go over to powerfoodslifestyle.com to learn more, to grab this book, my 6-week program, and the recipe book. PFL low carb strategy is most meaningful to me because it is my life. It is the way I eat, and sharing this with you, giving you solutions, and helping you find a way to minimize the pain, the inflammation, the triggers for flare-ups in your own life gives me the greatest pleasure. Am I saying it's a walk in the park? No. but I'm simplifying it for you so you don't have to do all the research. You don't have to sit down and map out a plan. Just get the program, get the cookbook, and follow the bouncing ball. And you will be amazed at how much better you begin to feel. I love you, my friends. Stay strong, put up a good fight, and live fully. Power your body, one meal, one workout, one day at a time.